This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on The South Today, it's all penguins are go at the newly renovated Oamaru Blue Penguin Colony as the research centre approaches completion. New research from the University of Otago says that abuse is a persistent problem in adolescent relationships, both male and female. And after a nationwide assessment of all of its stations, St John decided to replace the Gore area station with a shiny new one. We snuck in the side door to get you pictures. Kia ora, good evening. With The South Today, I'm Craig Story. Research has taken centre stage at the Oamaru Blue Penguin Colony as its $660,000 redevelopment enters its final stages. The layout of the building has changed, a new research laboratory has been built and a rehabilitation centre for the birds established on site.
Life is good for the little blue penguins at Oamaru's Little Blue Penguin Colony. Not only is the $660,000 redevelopment in its final stage, there are also solid signs this will be a good breeding year.
Life's good for a penguin out at sea. If we've got a good number of penguins coming in, you know, they're good weights, that's a good sign that things are going well. And then to top that off, early eggs is another indicator that life's good out there at sea, because in a really rough year, as I say, they won't start laying until late.
She believes the science has always been in the background of the facility. However, the redevelopment is bringing it into sharper focus for the centre's average of 70,000 visitors per year. Agnew says there are already some eggs in nests, which is an indicator of happy penguins.
We've had our first eggs laid for the season, so very unusual. We haven't had eggs laid in May since, well, in 20 years, since 1997.
The penguin colony at Oamaru is managed by Tourism Waitaki. Its general manager, Jason Gaskill, says the redevelopment has not significantly increased the size of the colony. However, he says there is both more space for researchers and greater access for visitors during daytime. The colony now has a Department of Conservation permit to care for up to 12 of any of New Zealand's penguin species. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
New research from the New Zealand Family Violence Clearinghouse has shown that 1 in 5 girls and nearly 1 in 10 boys have experienced unwanted sexual contact. Researcher Dr. Melanie Beres of the University of Otago says the findings show abuse is a persistent problem in adolescent relationships. The South Today's Roselle LeBone has more.
Dr. Melanie Beres at the University of Otago has engaged in new research from the New Zealand Family Violence Clearinghouse showing up to 60% of high school students have been in an emotionally or physically abusive relationship, with those aged between 15 to 19 at the greatest risk.
So relationships are now becoming sort of more casual, and sort of young people aren't dating or going steady or having relationships. They might have more fleeting kinds of things in and out, that this also impacts then the type of violence and when we might be seeing that.
According to the research, of those staying in women's refuges in New Zealand, more than 20% are aged 15 to 19. Beres says it is concerning violence and abuse in teenage relationships do not receive the same level of attention as violence in adult relationships.
We think that, you know, they switch from crushes really quickly and have sort of fleeting kinds of relationships. And so if we're not taking the relationship seriously, we're not less likely to also think about the violence that might be happening in those relationships and taking that seriously as well.
Beres says finding non-aggressive models of masculinity, challenging gender norms and engaging with international research was vital, as was providing a way out for those in abusive relationships.
If teenagers think that they're in an unhealthy relationship, talk to a trusted adult would be the first thing. There's also Youthline available where they can do text-based talking, like text-based support or web-based support as well.
The research also found 20% of New Zealand's secondary students reported being hit or harmed by another person in their previous school year. Roselle LeBone, The South Today.
The 41 players of the British and Irish Lions rugby team and almost 50 support staff arrived in Auckland on Wednesday to begin the preparations for their 10-match tour of New Zealand. Where they will train, what they will do and how they will do it is the topic of much discussion. But there is little doubt that the British and Irish Lions' impending visit to Queenstown is a coup. They're due to arrive in the tourist town on July the 2nd, a couple of days after their big test at the Wellington Westpac Stadium. The side is again back in Whangarei against the New Zealand Provincial Barbars a couple of days later. They're going to get trounced. The team will spend 2 full days in Wakatipu before flying to Auckland to begin preparations for the third and final test on July the 8th. Keep an eye out, they don't mind autograph hunters. The partially built new St John ambulance station, forecast to cost around $1.8 million, threw open its doors to invited guests on Tuesday. St John decided to replace the building after a nationwide assessment of stations found deficiencies in the Gore station.
Stakeholders were given a tour of St John's partially completed 559 square metre single-storey building this week. St John Hokanui Area Executive Officer Vicky Kelly says the station in Charlton Road was originally estimated to cost under $1.74 million to build. However, the cost has grown to about $1.8 million, leaving a shortfall in funding of $500,000. St John is offering members of the public the opportunity to buy a brick or a plaque to help with the $500,000 deficit. The new station will comply with IL4 or Importance Level 4 standards, which deem an ambulance station to be essential to post-disaster recovery and require it to be able to continue to function after a disaster. Kelly says the new building has a garage capable of housing 2 ambulances. The organisation intends to build a separate garage to house the health shuttle and a van. The new station has 4 bedrooms to sleep volunteer staff when they're on duty. Kelly says the station has 7 paid staff and 16 volunteers and will feature a large training room. St John says it's due to be completed in mid-August. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
Still to come on The South Today, Central Otago Police need your help to investigate a suspicious fire in Cromwell. The Bluff oyster industry is concerned that a new strain of Bonamia may have long-term ramifications. And Deep South reggae, it needs you, man.
It's on again. The Star Regent 24-hour book sale starts noon, 9th of June. Don't miss out.
Bring some more joy into your world by adopting one of our adult animals at SPCA Otago. Call now on 473 8252. Please adopt a pet now. They will love you forever. From rare to the recent, visit the legendary Hard to Find for your quality second-hand books. With the largest stock in New Zealand and a friendly book-loving atmosphere. For good prices, buying or selling, come visit 20 Dowling Street.
Emu oil has been used for centuries to support joint mobility and tired muscles. Also helpful for supporting healthy skin. Available as oil or in capsules. Go to www.silverhorn.co.nz to order emu oil today.
When it's time to say goodbye to your pet, Heaven Sent Pet Cremations are here to help you through this difficult experience. Call Heaven Sent Pet Cremations today for their care and guidance. Phone 489-2274.
We need your help to secure the future of Dunedin Hospital. The Dunedin City Council is leading the community's call to redevelop Dunedin Hospital as a top-flight teaching hospital right in the city centre. Have you sent your SOS? Add your voice to the thousands demanding central government commit to the health and well-being of the whole southern region. Go to dunedinhospitalsos.nz and fill out your form, or head to a library near you to fill out a paper copy. dunedinhospitalsos.nz.
Granddad loved his family and surfing, in that order. He taught me to surf, and we spent a lot of time in the water together over the years. When he died, I strapped the camera to the nose of his old board and filmed the paddle out at St Clair. Gillian's played the video on the big screen at his funeral. Grandad would have loved having everyone come out one last surf with him.
Gillian's Funeral Services, helping families celebrate the lives of their loved ones for generations. Gillians.co.nz.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
We're a 25 Moreau Place at Dog with Tails Cafe and Bar. So we take coffee very seriously. We do what's called contract roasting, so we're creating our own roasting profile and then doing our own blends. We're really focusing on the craft of what we're doing. You know, we're going back, instead of going on mass-produced sort of cheap things, we're taking the time to really craft what we're making. Make it so anyone can come here and have a feed and be able to get something they're able to eat or that they want to eat as well. You're kind of getting a taste of cafes from all around the world when you come here.
Kiwi Country, an hour of country music from today and yesterday. Sunday 4 p.m, repeating Friday 10 p.m. Thank you for staying with us. Central Otago police are investigating a suspicious fire that extensively damaged a commercial vehicle on McNulty Road in Cromwell. The Cromwell Volunteer Fire Service attended the incident at around 6:15 last night, and police are seeking video footage which may have been obtained by members of the public on activity in and around McNulty Road and Gare Avenue areas last night. This may include footage of suspicious persons or activity in the area at the time. Police would also like to hear from anyone who may have witnessed unusual behaviour themselves. The Bluff oyster industry is concerned that a new strain of Bonamia virus could find its way from oyster farms on Stewart Island into the wild oysters of Fovo Strait. Oh my goodness. The raft of measures have been put in place to stop the spread. With more, here is Ruby Spink in Bluff.
Fovo Strait is famous for its bluff oysters, but for 60 years its oyster population has fluctuated because of the Bonamia parasite. Now a new strain of the parasite, Bonamia austrae, has been found on 2 Stewart Island oyster farms, and the worry is it might spread to the Fovo Strait's wild oysters. In an attempt to prevent that, the Ministry of Primary Industries has put new regulations in place on Stewart Island.
We've put in place some legal controls under the Biosecurity Act in the form of a controlled area or movement controls. So, you know, no shellfish can be moved out of the zone that's infected, so in and around Stewart Island, and any vessels or equipment associated with marine farms where there are flat oysters present. And that'll just prevent, the risk of oysters being moved somewhere else and then spreading the parasite with them.
The Bluff oyster industry is also taking its own action to make sure people in the industry are aware of the risk of the new strain of Bonamia and minimising the effects of the existing strain.
Oh, the potential risk is huge to the fishery. I say we've seen mortality.
The strain of Bonamia already in the Fovo Strait cut the oyster population by about 90%, or around 1 billion oysters in 2003, forcing the industry to reduce its catch.
Legally, or under the ministry rules, we could harvest 15, but it's an industry initiative, a conservative approach, and that's driven very clearly from it's a real bottom-up process. We have a lot of discussions with science, with skippers, and then skippers to quota owners, and so it's a decision that everybody is part of that decision-making process.
The public appetite for oysters is demonstrated each year at the Bluff Oyster and Food Festival, and the public was reassured this week about the Bonamia parasite.
It's not a food safety concern, but we certainly would recommend people eat fresh, healthy-looking seafood, and if anything looks a bit off, not to eat it anyway, but it wouldn't be the Bonamia that causes any issues there.
There's no known way to eradicate the naturally occurring parasite. But the good news is that it doesn't affect other shellfish, such as green shell mussels and Pacific rock oysters. I'm Ruby Spink for The South Today.
A group of Dunedin-based people who hail from the Pacific Islands are hoping to host the godfather of Pacifica reggae, along with two of Aotearoa's top hip-hop artists. The show, called Cool Runnings, plays on the idea that it might be odd to have a hive of reggae artists this far south in the country. But our very own Daryl Baser has found out that it's not as strange as it might seem, because some have been doing it for years, but the organisers may need a little help.
Tokelauan-born Dunedin musician Hiliako Yahito is a man on a mission. With the bands Koile and Inati, he's been a stalwart of the city's music scene for many years. And now he wants to bring some very famous reggae and hip-hop musicians to Otipoti, but says it's a large financial undertaking.
We are going to host this show in Dunedin, mainly out in Mackenzie Bay. I am seeking your support to be able to host and to bring these musicians to Dunedin. For some of them, this would be their very first time coming to Dunedin.
In 2011, Koile were honoured at the Pacific Music Awards in Auckland. It was one of the band's frequent trips north. Always when travelling to warmer climates, their friends and extended whānau ask how they live in cold Dunedin.
Quite often when we're up north in the North Island doing shows in there, we quite often get asked, is there a lot of islanders in Dunedin? And at times we would think, yes. But also another question we quite frequently get asked is it cold down there? And I guess my reply would be, yeah, it's cooler, but we just put a jacket on, put a beanie on, which is why, in the cooler seasons, you dress appropriately. Like when we're in the sunshine, shorts and t-shirts,
He says bringing the godfather of reggae in New Zealand, Tigi Ness, along with hip-hop legends Shea Fu and King Kapisi to the city, will be an expensive exercise. Yahito and the team are launching a fundraising campaign through the boosted platform in a hope to cover costs. The event is scheduled for early July. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
Still to come on The South Today, the small but vibrant North Canterbury community of Waiau is growing, and also the big juicy ODT for the long weekend and the very important weather forecast.
Bowel cancer is a disease that can affect all New Zealanders. It affects men and women equally, but the rates of bowel cancer definitely do increase as you get older. So most bowel cancer occurs in people who are over 50 years of age. 10% of bowel cancer happens in younger people, and unfortunately the numbers of younger people are increasing who've been affected by bowel cancer. But the people who are most at risk are people in their 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s.
Most women wouldn't think that they're at risk of bowel cancer, but actually they're as at risk of bowel cancer as they are of breast cancer. And most men wouldn't think of bowel cancer, but actually they're at as much risk of bowel cancer as they are of prostate cancer. It's a major killer in New Zealand, and it's one that tragically, for 1,200 New Zealanders who die of this each year, is just repeatedly ignored.
Garage Dunedin, delivering quality stylish garage doors in Dunedin for over 15 years. New doors, replacement doors, repairs and maintenance are all part of Garage quality service. Garage Dunedin offers a full range of modern quality doors to suit any home. Come visit the team at 553 Kaikoura Valley Road. Visit www.garador.co.nz or call us on 488 5676.
It's on again. The Star Regent 24-hour book sale starts noon, 9th of June. Don't miss out.
All right, the home stretch now. The small North Canterbury town of Waiau is growing. Many buildings in North Canterbury Township were severely damaged in last November's 7.8 magnitude earthquake. Heavily laden trucks like this one are becoming a common sight for early morning travellers in North Canty. The Huranui District Council, along with the government, are establishing a temporary village to help with the region's recovery. The village suffered a higher proportion of damaged homes than any other community affected by the recent earthquake, being at the very epicentre of the event. A collective effort by local contractors and others have seen 4 houses arrive in the early hours of the morning. The first is at 1:30 from Christchurch, set to ensure the least amount of disruption to traffic heading up to the busy alternative state highway. It's a mammoth task. Referendum questions the animal facility decision. The Otago University Students Association referendum has just closed for 2017. This year the question was included on the proposed $50 million animal lab at the University of Otago. The Otago Student Animal Legal Defence Fund says there has been a lack of transparency and consultation around the process.
Scenes like this were observed earlier this year with protests outside the proposed site for the University of Otago's animal testing facility. A referendum released by OUSA this year included the question, should OUSA lobby the university to cease development of a new animal research facility until the university has transparently consulted with students on the financial, ethical and scientific value and implications of investing in animal-based research. Student and animal rights activist Oscar Rego has questioned what he considers to be a lack of transparency and ethics in the building of the facility.
We were successful in the referendum. It was pretty close, but the result is a yes vote for asking OUSA to lobby the university to stop developing the facility and be a bit more transparent about it.
In a statement this week, Otago Student Animal Legal Defence Fund says other controversial decisions, such as cuts to humanities departments and increases in university-run CCTV surveillance, have also been made without public consultation. OUSA's annual student forum took place in late May, providing a chance for students to ask questions in relation to the 11 questions included in the referendum. Student magazine Critic says the event was poorly attended, with the amount of pizzas delivered to lure students outnumbering the attendees. In a press statement, University of Otago Chief Operating Officer Stephen Willis says the project cannot be stopped. Professor Richard Blakey told The South Today back in February the testing facility will be state-of-the-art and help both humans and animals live longer, healthier lives. Over the last 2 weeks it emerged progress is being delayed due to asbestos being found at the proposed site. Roselle LeBone, The South Today.
And let's recap tonight's top stories on The South Today. Research is taking centre stage at the Oamaru Blue Penguin Colony as its extensive redevelopment enters its final stages, soon to welcome new penguins into the world. New research from the New Zealand Family Violence Clearinghouse shows 1 in 5 girls and nearly 1 in 10 boys have experienced unwanted sexual contact. And Gore's partially built new St John ambulance station is forecast to cost around $1.8 million. It opened its doors to invited guests this week. We snuck in the side door. Big weekend ODT, Craig.
Certainly is. Saturday's
What's
always
going on?
worth a read, particularly on a wet weekend. So.
Always.
Good story, or an interesting story about Mondelez, the owner of Cadbury's, announcing today that they're offering the dairy processing plant for sale as a going concern to an investor.
Really?
So that's a plant that produces condensed milk, about 8,000 tonnes a year, I think, something like that. So yeah, they don't need it in their Melbourne plant, so they're going to be leaving it here, and someone can purchase it as a going concern. Enterprise Dunedin's pretty excited, thinks it could provide some opportunities for someone wanting to set up a business and maybe make something out of I guess, the disaster that has been Cadbury for Dunedin.
If anybody can make a go of it, it'll be Southerners.
Yeah, exactly.
They can make tax on this.
Yeah, can. And it's also the deadline today for expressions of interest in producing some of those niche products that Cadbury does out of Dunedin, and they tell us there has been some interest.
Good.
And Oamaru Company Rainbow Confectionery is a bit coy, but says yes, it would be interested in doing some of them, so it'd be nice to think that we could keep it certainly within the region.
Very good.
America's Cup, we also catch up with Animation Research and Ian Taylor and the amazing things they're doing over at the America's Cup again. They've been involved since 1991 and really turned into a bit of a spectator sport for us all.
It's unmissable now.
It is, and so they're again doing their virtual live footage. They've also set up a mobile app now, which a lot of the teams are using to do post-race analysis. And there's a simulator in the America's Cup village as well where you can sail your own yacht. So again, Dunedin doing pretty well on the international stage.
Excellent.
Yeah, and just finally, we're looking ahead to some of the big events of the weekend. The Brass Monkey Rally at Aturihua, 37 years.
Yep.
People will be snuggling into their tents in the cold temperatures. And of course, Steampunk as well in Oamaru. Big weekend up there. So we've got plenty of coverage of that
That should
today
be
and over
marvellous
the
too.
weekend.
Excellent, Craig. Thank you so very much. All right, it's time now to have a look at tomorrow's weather.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Silverhorn Sportsville.
And some pretty pictures. That is a bellbird in somebody's lovely garden. Still a few blossoms around. And that is for sure in Bluff. What a pretty part of the world that is. For the situation now, a ridge of high pressure with good weather betrays us, I'm afraid. A wet, cold, southwesterly change comes late tomorrow. Sunday might redeem itself, better conditions all round, leading to a frosty Monday morning though. Across the deep south, showers late on Saturday and a southwesterly change too. The numbers are optimistic, but they are low in the mercury, 10 to 11. You should expect rain. To the central outlook, well, overcast and light winds in Alexandra, temperatures again quite low in 11. Same for Queenstown, Te Anau and Wanaka. You should expect rain in Te Anau, in fact, quite a bit of it. Off to the north now, Oamaru, light winds, some cloud and 11 conditions, lots of steampunkery going on there. Omarama, light winds, some cloud and 11, similar conditions for Timaru and Twizel. You should expect overcast and cool conditions. Please wrap up warm. For Dunedin, here tonight, cloudy and cool conditions and 6. Saturday is mostly fine with cloud and light winds, but the proposed late change brings fresh, cold southwesters and snow flurries down to 400 metres. Please prepare for this. 10 and 7 are your optimistic numbers. Sunday is damp and chill, but an improvement late in the day with sunny periods and cold southwesters. It will be -1 overnight and 9. Monday is likely to be better though. For Invercargill tonight, it's fairly fine, light winds and cool conditions at 7. Saturday opens with increasing high cloud and showers by the afternoon. Cold southerlies developing, wintry showers and hail before Saturday nightfall, 5 and 11. Sunday has showers clearing and many sunny periods and cold southwesters easing, but it will be below freezing Sunday night, -1 and 10. Monday opens with frost, light winds and sunny conditions. Please take care on the roads this long weekend, and please be good to each other. I'm Craig Story for The South Today. Good night.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.